The treaty's price. The Meridian flagship's observation deck glowed with an eerie blue light as Earth hung in the distance, a marble of blue and white that seemed deceptively peaceful. High Sovereign Nyx of the Meridian Collective stood motionless, her iridescent scales reflecting the starlight as she watched humanity's homeworld. The war had cost her people dearly. 12 billion lives lost across 3 star systems, countless worlds scared by orbital bombardment, and now this final indignity. Behind her, the door hissed open. Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force entered, her dress uniform pristine, dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. She carried a datapad containing the peace treaty that would end 5 years of devastating conflict. High Sovereign, Chen said, her voice carefully neutral. The final draft is ready for your review. Nyx turned, her crystalline eyes narrowing. In the artificial gravity, her ceremonial robes of liquid metal shifted like mercury. Tell me, Commander, do your people truly understand what you ask of me? The Meridian Collective has remained sovereign for 10,000 years. Chen met her gaze steadily. We understand that pride has a price, Your Eminence. So does peace. Pride. Nyx's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. You humans are so young. You mistake ancient tradition for mere pride. She gestured to the neural crown that wrapped around her temples, its biocrystal components pulsing with stored memories of countless generations. I carry the accumulated wisdom of every high sovereign since our species achieved spaceflight. And now you demand that I submit to human authority. Not to all of humanity, Chen corrected. To a single representative. To me. The treaty's most controversial clause had emerged from humanity's skinopsychologists, who understood that Meridians respected clear hierarchies. For peace to last, they needed to be integrated into humanity's power structure, not as equals, but as willing subordinates. The High Sovereign would retain autonomy in most matters, but ultimate authority would rest with an appointed human overseer. You're a warrior, Commander Chen. I studied your tactics, watched recordings of your battles. You fought with honor. Nyx moved closer, her height forcing Chen to look up. But you've never ruled. Never carried the burden of billions of lives in your consciousness. How can you possibly guide my people? I don't intend to rule the Meridian Collective, Chen said. That's still your role. I'm here to ensure our species work together instead of destroying each other. Nothing more. Nyx's hand went to the neural crown. Do you know what this truly is, Commander? It's not merely a symbol of office. It contains the experiences, memories, and wisdom of every high sovereign before me. When I accepted it, their consciousness became part of mine. 10,000 years of leadership, strategy, and sacrifice. Her voice grew quiet. And not one of them ever submitted to another species. Chen was silent for a moment, considering her words carefully. Then perhaps it's time for new wisdom to be added to that crown. The wisdom of knowing when to adapt rather than fight to extinction. A low hum filled the room as Nyx's emotional state caused her bioluminescent markings to pulse with suppressed anger. You're asking me to betray everything my people stand for. No, Chen countered. I'm asking you to save everything your people are. The war has depleted both our resources. The Collective's outer colonies are suffering from supply shortages. 3 of your major shipyards are destroyed. How many more generations of memories do you want to add to that crown before your civilization collapses? Nyx turned back to the viewport, her reflection overlaying Earth's serene image. You've studied our psychology well, Commander. You know that once we submit, our loyalty is absolute. There can be no half measures. If I accept this treaty, you will hold true power over me and my people. I understand the responsibility that comes with that power, Chen said. And I swear to you, I will never abuse it. Swear? Nyx's tone was bitter. Human promises are as ephemeral as your lifespans. Your entire civilization is barely older than some of our starships. Then judge us by our actions, Chen pressed. We could have continued the war. Instead, we're offering partnership, albeit on our terms. We could demand reparations, but we're offering mutual reconstruction. We could strip you of all authority, but we're asking only for oversight." The High Sovereign stood in silence, her internal struggle visible in the shifting patterns of light across her scales. Finally, she spoke. "The treaty requires a blood bond, does it not? A biological link between overseer and subject." Chen nodded, pulling up the relevant clause on her datapad. The blood bond was another concession to Meridian psychology, a literal biological connection that would allow the High Sovereign to physically sense her overseer's presence and emotional state. It would make deception between them impossible. "You understand what this means?" Nyx asked. "Once formed, it cannot be broken except by death. You will be as bound to me as I am to you. My people will recognize you as having authority over their High Sovereign. They will expect you to demonstrate strength worthy of that position. I'm prepared for that responsibility," Chen said firmly. Nyx turned fully to face her, her expression unreadable. "Then let us be clear about what follows, Commander. If I sign this treaty, if I accept you as my overseer, I will obey. But I will also watch. Every decision you make, every order you give, will either justify or condemn humanity's claim to authority over us. Can you bear that weight?" Chen met her gaze without flinching. "I can, and I'll prove it. We shall see." Nyx reached for the datapad, her crystalline claws clicking against its surface. "Summon the witnesses. Let us formalize humanity's greatest victory, and my people's greatest concession." As Chen moved to call in the diplomatic staff, she caught a glimpse of Earth through the viewport. The planet seemed to glow brighter now, as if aware of its species' unprecedented achievement. But in the reflection of the transparent steel, she could see Nyx's eyes fixed not on Earth, but on her. In them was a promise. This treaty might ensure peace, but it was also the beginning of a test that would determine whether humanity truly deserved the power they had claimed. The blood bond ceremony would bind them together, but trust, that would have to be earned one decision at a time. Pride and protocol. The blood bond ceremony left Commander Sarah Chen feeling as if her skin had been turned inside out. 1 week after the treaty signing, she could still feel High Sovereign Nyx's presence at the edges of her consciousness, a crystalline hum that intensified or diminished with their physical proximity. The Meridian scientists had warned her about this side effect, but experiencing it was something else entirely. She stood now in the newly established Joint Command Center on Luna Base, watching as Meridian and human crews attempted to integrate their vastly different technologies. The Meridian's biocrystal interfaces pulsed with organic light beside human holographic displays, creating a strange hybrid of technologies that seemed to symbolize their uneasy alliance. "Your heart rate is elevated, Overseer," Nyx's voice came from behind her. The High Sovereign had taken to using Chen's treaty-mandated title with a subtle emphasis that made it sound almost like mockery. "Are you finding our presence unsettling?" Chen turned, noting how the Meridian leader's ceremonial robes had been modified to incorporate elements of human military dress, another requirement of the treaty. "I'm adjusting," she replied evenly. "As are you, I suspect." Nyx's bioluminescent patterns flickered in what Chen was learning to recognize as amusement. "The bond tells me otherwise. Your species claims to value honesty, yet you attempt to deceive one with whom you share blood." Before Chen could respond, alarms blared through the command center. A human lieutenant rushed up to them, his face pale. "Commander, Your Eminence, we've detected multiple unauthorized launches from the Meridian heavy cruiser in orbit." Nyx's patterns shifted to deep crimson. Shock, Chen realized through their bond. Impossible. No Meridian would dare launch without authorization from their High Sovereign. Apparently some would, Chen said grimly, moving to the central display. "Show me." The holographic projection revealed 3 Meridian strike craft breaking formation, their crystalline hulls glowing with combat energy. They were heading directly for Earth's orbital defense grid. "If they breach the grid," the lieutenant warned, "our automated systems will interpret it as an act of war." Chen felt Nex's surge of anger through their bond, but also something else. Fear. Those ships, the High Sovereign said, her voice tight. They bear the markings of the eternal current faction. Explain, Chen demanded, unconsciously drawing on their bond to emphasize the command. Nix's scales rippled with discomfort at the compulsion, but she answered, they believe any submission to another species is sacrilege. They would rather die than see me bound to a human overseer. Then they may get their wish, Chen muttered, watching the ships accelerate toward Earth's defenses. She turned to Nix. Can you order them to stand down? They've locked out my command frequencies, Nix replied, her claws clicking against a biocrystal console. They seek to martyr themselves, to force a renewal of hostilities. Chen felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her. If those ships breached the defense grid, automated systems would launch a counterstrike. The peace they'd sacrificed so much to achieve would evaporate in nuclear fire. Your Eminence, she said formally, drawing herself up. I require your expertise. Nix's eyes narrowed. You're not using the bond to compel me. No, I'm asking for your help. Those are your people up there, about to die for their beliefs. Help me find a better way. Something shifted in their shared consciousness. Surprise, respect, curiosity. Nix moved to the console, her claws dancing across the crystal surface. Meridian strike craft use crystalline resonance for structural integrity. If we can match their harmonic frequency, we could disable them without destruction. Chen finished, feeling the idea form between them through their bond. She turned to her crew. Reconfigure our defense satellites. Channel all power to broad-spectrum resonance beams. The next few minutes were a blur of coordinated action. Human and Meridian officers worked side by side, their technologies synchronizing, just as the rebel ships reached the outer defense perimeter. Energy beams lanced out, precisely tuned to the frequencies Nix provided. The effect was immediate. The crystalline hulls of the strike craft began to vibrate, their weapon systems powering down as they lost structural cohesion. Within moments, all three ships were drifting helplessly in space. Dispatch recovery teams, Chen ordered. Bring them in alive. She felt Nex's approval through their bond, though the High Sovereign's voice remained stern. They will face justice under Meridian law. With oversight, Chen reminded her, but gently. We handle this together. Nix turned to her, crystalline eyes glinting. You could have simply ordered me to give you the resonance frequencies. The bond would have compelled me to comply. And next time, when I need your will and cooperation, your genuine insight. Chen shook her head. Force is easy. Trust is harder, but it lasts longer. Perhaps, Nix said slowly, there is wisdom in your youth after all, Overseer. She touched her neural crown thoughtfully. The memories I carry, they speak of strength through dominance, power through control. Yet you chose collaboration over compulsion. Did it work? The High Sovereign's patterns shifted to a color Chen hadn't seen before, a deep, thoughtful blue. Ask me again when the next crisis comes. But, yes, for now, it worked. As the recovery teams brought in the disabled ships, Chen watched human and Meridian crews working together with growing efficiency. The bond hummed between her and Nix, no longer quite so uncomfortable. It was a reminder that their peace was more than just a treaty. It was a daily choice to find better ways forward. The eternal current faction will not be the last to resist our new arrangement, Nix warned. No, Chen agreed. But we've proven something important today. We're stronger together than apart. The High Sovereign's patterns rippled with what might have been amusement. Don't celebrate too quickly, Overseer. You've won my cooperation in a crisis. My respect, that may take longer to earn. Chen smiled slightly. Then it's a good thing we have time. Whispers of betrayal. The interrogation chamber aboard Luna Base was designed to accommodate both species, sterile steel walls for humans, resonating crystal fixtures for Meridians. Commander Sarah Chen watched through one-way glass as High Sovereign Nix questioned the captured Eternal Current pilots. The blood bond transmitted the High Sovereign's carefully controlled anger, a sensation like static electricity across Chen's nerves. Your actions dishonor 10,000 years of Meridian civilization. Nex's voice carried through the speakers, her scales shifting to deep indigo. Explain yourself, Second Flight Vero. The captured pilot's crystalline features remained defiant. We dishonor nothing. It is you who have betrayed our people by submitting to human authority. The eternal current flows in one direction, forward, never bending. Chen felt Nex's surge of fury through their bond, but the High Sovereign's voice remained steady. Forward. Your actions would have triggered automated defense systems. Millions would have died. Better death than submission, Vero spat. But you don't see it yet, do you? How deeply they've already corrupted you. His eyes flicked to the observation window, somehow knowing Chen watched. Ask your human overseer about Project Eclipse. Chen's breath caught. That was classified at the highest levels. Even most of the treaty negotiators didn't know about it. Through their bond, she felt Nex's immediate spike of suspicion. The High Sovereign emerged from the interrogation chamber moments later, her ceremonial robes swirling with barely contained energy. Project Eclipse, Overseer. The title carried a new edge. I sense your disquiet through our bond. What are you hiding? Before Chen could respond, her secure communicator chimed. The message made her blood run cold. 3 Meridian outposts had gone dark simultaneously. No distress calls, no signs of attack. They'd simply stopped responding. She showed the message to Nix, watching the High Sovereign's patterns shift to alarmed crimson. Those outposts, Nix said slowly, they all house crystal matrix data cores containing copies of our ancestral memories. Like the ones in your neural crown. Similar, but more extensive. They are our history, our civilization's accumulated knowledge. Nix's eyes narrowed. This is not coincidence, Overseer. Tell me about Project Eclipse. Chen felt the weight of their bond, the impossible balance between security and trust. It was a contingency plan, she admitted finally. If the peace failed, if your people resumed hostilities, we needed a way to preserve your knowledge while neutralizing your military capability. Preserve. Nix's patterns flashed dangerous colors. You mean steal. You plan to download our memories, our very essence, while destroying the originals. Her voice turned bitter. And now someone has begun executing that plan despite the peace treaty. Not us, Chen insisted. Think about it. Why would we act now, when we have a stable peace? When we have you? The bond between them hummed with tension, with betrayal and doubt and fear, but also understanding. Nix touched her neural crown, her movements sharp with agitation. The Eternal Current faction claimed they acted to preserve our independence, but their attack was meant to fail, to distract us from these thefts. A diversion, Chen agreed. But who has the resources to coordinate something like this? To know about Project Eclipse and have access to both human and Meridian systems. Someone who benefits from renewed conflict between our species. Nix's patterns shifted to a thoughtful purple. Someone with access to both human and Meridian command structures. Someone, Chen added grimly, who knows about our blood bond and its implications. She moved to a secure terminal, entering commands with quick precision. Look at this. The outposts went dark in perfect sequence, using shutdown codes that had to come from high-level authority. Nix studied the data, her crystalline eyes reflecting the screen's glow. These patterns, they match protocols known only to the High Sovereign's inner circle, my inner circle. And the timing of the blackouts matches gaps in our orbital surveillance, gaps that only someone with UEDF command codes could arrange. Chen felt sick. We're being played. Both sides. The High Sovereign's patterns pulsed with dangerous intensity. Trust, you said. Collaboration over compulsion. Was that all theater while your people prepared to steal our very essence? I didn't know about the project when we formed our bond, Chen said quietly. Search my emotions if you don't believe me. The bond goes both ways. Nyx went still, her consciousness pressing against Chen's through their connection. Moments passed in tense silence as the High Sovereign sifted through the truth of her words, her motives, her genuine shock at the outpost blackouts. You speak truth, Nyx finally acknowledged, her patterns settling into calmer hues. But others move against us, against this peace we've built. Then we find them, Chen said firmly. Together. No more secrets between us. Not if we want to survive this. Agreed. Nyx's claws clicked against the console as she input commands. I'm granting you full access to Meridian command protocols. All of them. Chen raised an eyebrow. That's forbidden under your laws. As is serving under a human overseer. Yet here we stand. The High Sovereign's patterns shifted to colors Chen had never seen before, trust mixed with determination. You wanted my respect, Commander. This is how you earn it. We hunt these traitors together, or we watch everything we've built burn. They stood together in the dim light of the command center, human and Meridian, bound by blood and circumstance, and now by choice. Through their bond flowed a shared purpose, a merging of human adaptability and Meridian determination. Where do we start? Chen asked. Nyx's patterns gleamed with predatory focus. We begin with those who know too much. Project Eclipse required intimate knowledge of Meridian psychology. Who advised your leaders during its development? Chen's eyes widened as connections formed. The same synapsychologists who suggested the blood bond protocol. Then perhaps, Nyx said softly, dangerously, it's time we paid them a visit. The bond between them hummed with shared resolve. Whatever came next, they would face it as neither overseer and subject, nor human and Meridian, but as partners in a dance of survival. The conspiracy had sought to drive them apart. Instead, it had given them common cause. Now they just had to survive long enough to see justice done. Battle-born trust. The research facility on Mars Vallis Marineris hung against red cliffs like a chrome spider web, its architecture a blend of human utility and Meridian crystal tech. As Commander Chen's shuttle approached, she felt High Sovereign Nyx's anticipation through their bond. A sharp, cutting sensation like ice crystals forming. Dr. Elizabeth Reyes, Chen said, reviewing the file on her datapad. Earth's leading genopsychologist and the architect of both Project Eclipse and our blood bond protocol. All communications from her facility ceased 12 hours ago. Convenient, Nyx replied, her patterns rippling with controlled anger. And your security teams? No response. Something's very wrong here. Chen switched to the facility's external cameras. Most were dark, but one showed peculiar crystalline growths spreading across the main laboratory's windows. That's not standard Meridian tech. Nyx's patterns flashed alarm. Spiral-form crystal matrices. Forbidden technology from before our civilization achieved unity. They consume other crystal structures, repurpose them. Like your memory cores. Chen felt sick. They're not just stealing your people's memories. They are transforming them into something else. Before Nyx could respond, proximity alarms screamed. 3 ships emerged from behind Mars dust storms, their design neither human nor Meridian. Prismatic hull configuration, Nyx hissed. The Voidborn. Chen's blood ran cold. The Voidborn were supposed to be a myth, space-dwelling energy beings who'd supposedly taught the Meridian's crystal technology eons ago before disappearing into deep space. They're real? Very. And now we know who truly orchestrated this conflict. Nyx's patterns shifted to battle-ready crimson. They'd been waiting, watching our species fight each other, growing stronger from our technologies. The enemy ships opened fire, their weapons converting the facility's crystal components into expanding geometric patterns that began consuming the structure. Chen barely managed to evade, bringing their shuttle around behind a rocky outcropping. This was never about human Meridian conflict, Chen realized. Dr. Rice, The xenopsychologists, they were working with the Voidborn all along, using our mutual suspicion to blind us to their true purpose. Nyx's claws danced across the shuttle's crystal interfaces, interfacing with her neural crown. The Voidborn taught my ancestors crystal technology, but we eventually rejected their offer of ascension, converting our organic forms into pure energy matrices. And now they're back to finish the job. Chen watched in horror as the facility's crystal sections began pulsing with otherworldly light. Those memory cores they stole, they are using them to build some kind of conversion matrix. Through their bond, Shen felt Nyx's desperate calculation. If they complete the pattern, they can trigger a cascade reaction through all Meridian crystal technology. My entire species would be forcibly converted. Not if we stop them first. Chen's hands flew over the controls, linking human and Meridian systems in ways their designers never intended. Your people's crystal tech responds to consciousness, right? And we share a blood bond. Nyx's patterns shifted to startled recognition. You want to merge our awareness through the bond. Use our combined consciousness to override their control matrix. Her voice held equal parts admiration and concern. The neural feedback could kill us both. Better than watching your civilization be converted into energy beings. Chen met the High Sovereign's crystalline gaze. Trust goes both ways, remember. For a moment, Nyx was silent, her pattern swirling with complex emotions that echoed through their bond. Then she reached out, placing one crystal-clawed hand against Chen's temple. Together then, Overseer. The world exploded into light and consciousness. Chen felt herself expanding, merging with Nyx's alien awareness. 10,000 years of Meridian memories cascaded through her mind as their combined consciousness reached out through the crystal networks. They found the Voidborn's presence, vast, cold, ancient beyond imagining. Through stolen human and Meridian knowledge, they were building a conversion matrix that would forcibly elevate both species into energy beings under their control. But they hadn't counted on what a human and Meridian consciousness could do when truly unified. Chen/Nyx struck through the crystal networks, their merged awareness flowing through every circuit and matrix. They found the resonance frequency of the Voidborn's control systems and shattered it, using techniques that were neither human nor Meridian, but something gloriously new. The Voidborn ships reeled, their careful patterns disrupted. In that moment of weakness, Chen/Nyx activated the facility's defense systems, transmitting a cascade of their own, not to convert, but to preserve. Crystal matrices were formed, sealing the Voidborn out of the networks they'd tried to subvert. When their consciousness finally separated, Chen found herself on the shuttle's floor, blood trickling from her nose. Nyx knelt beside her, patterns showing equal exhaustion. The facility, Chen managed to ask. Secured. The Voidborn ships are retreating. Nyx helped her sit up, their bond humming with shared triumph and lingering connection. You took an impossible risk, Commander. Had a feeling you wouldn't let me fall. Chen managed a weak smile. Did you mean for me to see all those memories when we merged? No, but I'm glad you did. Nyx's patterns shifted to colors Chen had never seen before. Trust, respect, and something deeper. Now you truly understand what it means to be Meridian. And perhaps, I better understand what it means to be human. Rescue ships were already approaching, human and Meridian vessels moving in perfect coordination. Chen watched them through blurry eyes, feeling the change in their bond. What had begun as a political necessity had become something more profound. The Voidborn will return, Nyx said quietly. They've waited millennia for this attempt. They'll wait again. And we'll be ready. Chen reached up to touch the neural crown gently. Together. Not because a treaty demands it, but because we choose it. The High Sovereign's patterns rippled with agreement. Perhaps that was the wisdom we both needed to learn. True strength lies not in domination or submission, but in choosing to stand together. As the rescue ships docked, Chen realized their bond felt different now. Deeper, richer, a true fusion of human and Meridian consciousness. They had glimpsed each other's innermost nature and emerged stronger for it. The treaty had forced them together, but choice would keep them there. And when the Voidborn returned, they would face a unity they never expected, one forged not through force or fear, but through trust and understanding. It was a new kind of power, and it would reshape the galaxy. Beyond the treaty. 3 months after the Voidborn incident, Earth's Global Assembly chambers held an unprecedented gathering. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the assembled representatives of both humanity and the Meridian Collective, conscious of High Sovereign Nyx's presence beside her. Their bond had evolved since their minds merged, less an imposed connection now and more a shared strength. The treaty that bound us together was built on assumptions of dominance and submission. Chen addressed the chamber, her voice carrying to every corner. We thought peace required hierarchy. We were wrong. Through their bond, she felt Nyx's approval as the High Sovereign stepped forward, her patterns shifting in colors that even humans were beginning to recognize as representing harmony and strength. The Voidborn showed us a truth we had forgotten. Nyx's crystalline voice resonated. 10,000 years ago, my people rejected their offer of forced ascension because we understood that true evolution cannot be compelled. Yet we forgot this wisdom in our own diplomatic relations. The chamber stirred as human and Meridian representatives processed their words. Chen felt the weight of history in this moment, not just humanity's brief centuries of spaceflight, but the millennia of Meridian experiences she now partially shared. We stand before you today, Chen continued, to propose a new form of alliance, not one of overseer and subject, but of genuine partnership. She nodded to her technical team, who activated the chamber's holographic systems. Above the assembly, a projection showed the new joint defense network they'd designed. Human intuition and adaptability merged with Meridian crystal technology in ways neither species had imagined possible. The Voidborn will return, Nyx stated, her patterns rippling with determined purpose. They see our species as evolutionary dead ends, raw material for their grand design. But they don't understand what we've discovered. Chen felt their bond pulse with shared conviction. True strength isn't found in domination or submission. It's not even found in simple cooperation. It's found in the space between species, in the new possibilities that emerge when different minds learn to think as one. The assembly murmured as they displayed the results of their joint research projects. Meridian crystal tech enhanced by human creativity. Human artificial intelligence systems made more stable through Meridian consciousness sharing protocols. Medical breakthroughs that combine the best of both species' understanding. We propose, Nyx announced, the dissolution of the Overseer Protocol. Her patterns shifted to colors of certainty and hope. In its place, we will establish the Convergence Initiative, a new framework for human-Meridian relations based on mutual growth and voluntary connection. Our blood bond was meant to enforce compliance, Chen added. Instead, it taught us something profound about the nature of trust and understanding. We're offering similar bonds, modified, voluntary ones, to specially chosen pairs of human and Meridian leaders who wish to explore this new frontier together. The chamber erupted in discussion. Chen felt the ripples of shock, excitement, and concern flowing through both populations. Through their bond, Nyx shared her own people's reactions, the traditionalists' horror warring with the progressives' hope. A human representative stood. And what of the Voidborn? How can we trust that this convergence will protect us when they return? Nyx's patterns shifted to battle-ready crimson. The Voidborn believe that forcing species to transcend their physical forms is the path to power. We will show them a different kind of transcendence, one achieved through choice and understanding. They offered ascension, Chen said. We'll show them evolution, not by abandoning our forms, but by learning to see through each other's eyes, to think with each other's minds, to grow beyond what either species could become alone. Through their bond flowed memories of their merged consciousness during the Voidborn attack, the moment when human and Meridian thought processes had created something entirely new. They glimpsed possibilities that neither species had imagined before. Another representative, A Meridian elder rose. "High Sovereign, you carry the memories of our ancestors. What would they say to this unprecedented path?" Nyx touched her neural crown, her patterns thoughtful. "They would say that survival requires adaptation. That wisdom means recognizing when ancient ways must yield to new truths." She turned to Chen, their bond humming with shared purpose. "The memories I carry are precious, but they are of the past. We must be free to create new memories, new wisdom for future generations." "The treaty forced us together," Chen addressed the chamber. "But what we found in that forced union was something revolutionary. We're not asking you to forget the conflicts of the past. We're asking you to help us build a future that makes those conflicts meaningless." She felt Nyx's consciousness brush against hers through their bond, offering strength, sharing resolve. Together, they watched as the assembly began to deliberate, knowing that whatever came next would reshape both their species. "It won't be easy," Nyx said privately through their bond. "Change never is." "No," Chen agreed, "but nothing worth doing ever is." As the debate continued around them, Chen reflected on how far they'd come. What had begun as a political arrangement, a forced submission, had evolved into something profound, a blueprint for a new kind of civilization, one that celebrated differences while finding strength in unity. The Voidborn would return, yes, but when they did, they would find something they couldn't comprehend. Two species who had found a way to evolve together, not through force, but through choice. Not through submission, but through mutual growth. It was a revolution born of trust, forged in battle, and sustained by understanding. And it was just the beginning. The treaty had ended their war. But this would build their future.